Your branding might look great, but if they're not bringing in customers, that's just expensive decoration. Over 92% of ad campaigns never produce a positive ROI. And in the next 8 minutes, I'll show you the exact system we use to turn underperforming ad campaigns into profitable ones for local businesses, putting our clients in that top 8%.
We're Pink Studios. We've helped countless brands use this exact framework. Now let's show you how to use it.
If you're a CEO of any local business, small business, aspiring business, and you're wasting ad spend, or you're tired of wasting ad spend, this might be the most profitable video you watch all year. Now imagine this: a CEO invests heavily in a rebrand, a new site, a new logo, and new visuals. The brand looks perfect and his team feels proud. Then the ads go live. Nothing moves. Clicks come in, but the buyers don't buy, and leads come in, but they're curious and not qualified. And the internal reaction is almost always the same. We need better creatives, so they order more creatives, new angles, headlines, and ads, but the performance doesn't improve because the problem was never creative quantity. The problem was the system, the sequence of psychological and operational steps that take a stranger from mild attention to committed action. The fix isn't a better design. The fix is a better system. So how do you improve or even build that system? Start with a question that most brands avoid because it's uncomfortable. What actually causes a human being to take action? Most brands design for internal satisfaction. What looks premium, what sounds clever, and what feels on brand. But buyers don't buy because your brand is aesthetically pleasing. Buyers buy when two conditions are true at the same time. The first is that they feel an urgent need, a real problem, attention, a desire, or a risk that matters now. They believe your offer is the safest path to the outcome. That's number 2, which means low perceived risk, high confidence, or they know the clear next step. If either one is missing, you get what most campaigns produce: attention without commitment and clicks without conversion. And that brings us to the first pillar of our system. Psychological alignment means that your messaging matches the most emotional job the consumer is already trying to complete. This is not about being emotional for the sake of being emotional, but reducing decision friction by meeting the buyer where they already are. Widely cited insight from Harvard Business School, featuring Professor Gerald Saltman, is that 95% of purchase decision making takes place in the subconscious, meaning that people often decide, then rationalize. That doesn't mean logic is irrelevant. It means that logic is usually the justification layer, not the ignition. So the practical move is simple. Identify the emotional state that drives the purchase and design your ad, page, and then follow up to resolve it. Ask yourself this: what discomfort is your consumer trying to escape? Whether it be pain, uncertainty, confusion, embarrassment, risk, or waste of time. And what outcome are they trying to reach? Here's an example for a healthcare provider, just a random example. People looking for a provider are rarely browsing for pleasure. They're usually in some mix of pain, uncertainty, urgency, frustration, or even discomfort. So the provider isn't really selling services. So what you're actually selling is the opposite of those emotions. So for example, the opposite of all those things are comfort, clarity, relief, and control, things that people usually come to the hospital for, emotionally. And the emotional outcome the patient wants is on the other side. They're selling comfort, clarity, relief, and control, the emotional outcome that the patient actually wants on the other side. And when you understand that, your positioning stops being generic, like quality care, and becomes decision relevant, like fast answers, clear plan, reduce anxiety, or confidence you're in good hands. It just depends on what your consumer wants. Once you choose the emotional lane you want to own, commit to it, because commitment is what makes you easy to understand, and understanding is what feels safe. Your headlines and hooks should always target the immediate emotion you're solving. If the customer is anxious, innovating the future doesn't mean anything. If the customer is time poor, why would you say that you're premium? It makes no sense. If a customer is scared of them making the wrong choice, your job is to reduce the perceived risk with clarity and proof. The second pillar is message focus. Stop spreading yourself thin because it makes you harder to locate in the customer's mind. When your message is general, it creates a lot of risk because a buyer isn't just asking, what do they do? They're asking, what happens to me if I choose them? You need to stop speaking to your customer and start speaking with your customer, for your customer. If your messaging tries to signal 5 emotional promises at once, like comfort, happiness, aggression, motivation, all these things, the buyer can't predict the outcome. They can't place you anywhere. And when people can't place you anywhere, they don't choose you because they don't know who you are. And this isn't just theoretical, it's not some abstract data. The Nielsen Norman Group found that users often leave web pages in 10 to 20 seconds. And to earn attention beyond that, you have to communicate your value proposition within about 10 seconds. In other words, you don't have time to be vague. A useful way to pressure test your clarity is if someone sees your ad for 3 seconds and your ad page for 10 seconds, can they answer without guessing these 4 questions? Number 1, who is this for? Number 2, what do I get? And why should I believe you? And then finally, number 4, what do I do next? So for example, like a popular brand like Volvo has been strongly associated with safety, like positioning for decades. That doesn't mean that every ad says safety, but the promise is consistent enough that the buyers can predict the outcome. So if I choose this brand, I'm choosing protection and security. Brands that win don't necessarily have the cleverest image, but they have the most consistent one. Consistency removes the uncertainty that we were talking about. Reduce uncertainty increases that conversion that you want. So if you're trying to own comfort, don't dilute it with random signals. Don't mix soothing reassurance with aggressive hustle language. Don't claim clarity while writing just nonsense. Your message should act like a spotlight on your true message. Now finally, the final pillar, conversion continuity. Now let's say your ad works and the prospect clicks. This is where most brands lose them, on the landing page and in the funnel and in the follow-up. The benchmark from Unbounce reports that the median landing page conversion rate is 6.6% across industries, based on analysis of 464 million visits to 41,000 landing pages and 57 million conversion actions. That means that the default experience converts a small minority of visitors. So small improvements in clarity, speed, and proof, and flow can materially change outcomes for local businesses. This is why when a campaign is driving traffic and the page converts at 1 to 2%, the problem is not often ads. It's a leakage of prospects, people who are interested in your business, enough to click, but not enough to commit. The most common root cause is a break in continuity. The ad creates one emotional promise, and the page immediately switches tone into a generic corporate language. So for example, if your ad speaks directly to a pain, like stop wasting spend you can't prove is incremental, and your landing page opens with innovating the future of solutions, you've created a dissonance in their trust. The buyer's brain flags it as risk, and they're unconsciously saying to themselves, this doesn't match what I was promised. Professional conversion systems do 3 things immediately. Number 1, they message match the ad. So they repeat the core promise in the plain language. Don't reset the conversation that you've been having with them already. Then you want to prove it quickly. So add credibility above the fold, quantified outcomes, testimonials, anything that you can do to give your consumer actual data. Finally, make the next step obvious. 1 primary action, minimal choices, no friction at all. Because speed and friction are not technical details, they're conversion variables. A Google research summarized in the milliseconds make millions report, as page load time goes from 1 to 3 seconds, the probability of bounce increases 32%. And if you're paying for clicks and then loading slowly, you are literally burning attention and then wasting it. Follow-up is a second silent leaking point, and especially in lead gen small businesses. Because research associated with Harvard Business Review found that among companies that respond to web leads, the average response time was about 42 hours, and 23% never even responded. You can have great ads and still fail if your response SLA is measured in days, or just not responding at all, and the buyer's urgency decays fast. Your system has to move at the speed of intent. That's why we obsess over the conversion layer, because the funnel is a bridge between emotion and outcome, and revenue is just often the consequence of whether the bridge is structurally sound. If you're spending around $20,000, $50,000, even $100,000 per month on ads and you're not seeing results, it's rarely the platform that caught you first. And if you're looking to spend on ads, then don't be scared of it, because it's your system. Misaligned emotional targets, diluted messaging, broken continuity, weak proof, slow pages, slow follow-up, or unclear next steps. Creative without a conversion system is expensive decoration. Nothing more, nothing less. And if you're a CEO, CMO, or founder serious about turning ad spend to actual returns, the fastest path is to stop asking for more ads and start installing these pillars. Psychological alignment, message focus, and conversion continuity. So every dollar you spend makes a difference inside a decision engine that can actually convert.